CJ returned to Los Santos in 1992. He took down Big Smoke. He took down Ryder. He destroyed Smoke's and Ballas' drug empire. CJ not only took Grove Street back, but also conquered many more territories for his gang. At the end of the game, Grove Street families were on top, and that's exactly what makes GTA 5 so strange. The player's first visit to Grove Street in 2013 revealed something that no one had expected. The families were nowhere to be found. Ballas ran the district, the Ballas who'd been kicked out of there by Sweet and CJ 20 years ago. That raised many questions. What happened to the Grove Street families? How did the Ballas make their way back to the top? How did they regain the heart of the GSF? Maybe Sweet was at fault again, or maybe CJ had enough of the street life and left the hood for good. For years, the players have assumed a very simple outcome. The families must have lost a war. The Ballas moved in and took over the block. End of story. And that's a plausible theory. Most players will sleep well with that assumption. But there's much more to the subject, if you're willing to dig a bit deeper. GTA 5 itself gives us many hints that the story of Grove Street wasn't as straightforward as many claim. The game confirms that the turf once belonged to the families. The famous Life Invader post of a Balla called Darnell makes that very clear. This proves that the family's Ballas war is far from ancient history. There's the dialogue between Franklin and Lamar, as well as between Franklin and Jimmy. In those dialogues, the Grove Street gangsters are described as if they were characters of an urban myth. Apparently, they managed to get out of the ghetto and become successful.
Hey, you know Grove Street used to be family hood.
Grove Street family? Man, long time ago.
Man, what happened to them dudes?
Shit, I don't know. Could be dead. Shit, or could be CEOs by now.
In those conversations, the characters we remember from GTA San Andreas are perceived as the original Grove Street gangsters, as the foundation of street gangs in LS, as the definition of what old school means.
Are you Grove Street? Is Grove Street like a myth?
Man, that's some old school shit.
And that's where the first theory comes up, a theory that lines up with Rockstar's style. The GTA writers love creating myths and legends. In this case, the Grove Street families are an urban myth. You know, stories and rumors on the streets about some people or events. But no one knows if they're actually true. Let me give you an example. In the Red Dead universe, the events of Red Dead Revolver aren't part of the canon of Red Dead Redemption. They're acknowledged there only as folklore. They're merely stories told by the characters. It's the same in GTA 5. That's where the idea for the Easter egg in Hood Safari came from. Those three cyclists are meant to reinforce that vibe of the families being an urban myth. They're supposed to be like phantoms of the past, reminding everyone of the local legends. The way Franklin talks about them is intriguing as well. He describes the families as something fundamentally different from how gangs currently look.
Are you Grove Street? Is Grove Street like a myth?
Man, that's some old school shit. Hell no, it's not a myth. But times have changed, homie. I'm family. I guess like they was. But things is different now, homie. Ain't like the early 90s no more.
He suggests that the current generation no longer resembles the old school, hardcore gang culture of the 90s. But that's not a satisfying explanation. We want concrete answers. What happened to our homies? Why can't we meet them in GTA 5? Are they really just an urban legend? Does that mean they've never actually existed? In a way, it's true. That's what the universe rule suggests as well. According to the rule, the story of GTA San Andreas in GTA 5 is nothing more than one big myth, something that maybe happened or maybe not. But I wanted to find definitive answers. I wanted to find out if there was a grain of truth in that legend about the GSF. But you won't find those answers in GTA San Andreas or in GTA 5. You'll find them in the history of Los Angeles itself. As we know, Rockstar's stories often reflect real-life events. The LA riots, the CIA illegally financing wars, the mysterious military base in the middle of the desert, the tales about aliens. The developers of San Andreas didn't invent all that. They just put into the game what they saw in the real world. In order to understand the story of GTA San Andreas and find answers to all the questions to do with CJ, Sweet, and the Grove Street families, we have to go back to Los Angeles in the second half of the 20th century. After the war, many black migrants came to the city. The discrimination and racial segregation made it extremely hard for them. They were only allowed to buy properties in specific neighborhoods. Those districts quickly formed tight-knit communities. Poverty, lack of opportunities, and no employment meant that people had to stick together if they wanted to survive. It didn't take awfully long before social clubs began to form within those communities. Some of those slowly turned into street gangs. That's when the iconic gangs, Bloods and Crips, emerged, which later became inspiration for the gangs we know from GTA SA. But the real breakthrough happened in the 80s, when crack cocaine was introduced into LA's black market. It was a cheaper and more addictive form of cocaine, affordable even for the poorest. The crack trade became an extremely lucrative business, and the gangs soon began to fight for control over the crucial city districts to sell even more of the drug. That's the period GTA San Andreas portrays. The conflict between the Ballas and the families isn't random, it's a reflection of the real-life wars that haunted South Central LA in those years. The game also touches on another problem of those times. Many people not only sold the drug, but they also became addicted to it themselves. The character of Big Bear is a great example here. We also see some families members turning into victims of addiction in the mission Homecoming. The authorities paradoxically made the situation even worse. The anti-gang institutions, like Crash, often broke the law themselves. Corruption scandals, police violence, and racial abuse were common in the LAPD. This gave birth to the concept of Tenpenny and Pulaski in the game. They sold drugs, cooperated with gangsters, and used them to earn money for themselves. They didn't try to stop the violence. They were using it to get rich. In the late 90s, crack had already devastated many communities. Thousands of people were incarcerated or died in gang shootings.
Tony's buried over there. Little devil over there. And big devil over there.
The violence slowly began to decrease, and the gangs were gradually losing significance. That's why Franklin from GTA 5 has a completely different view than CJ, at least the CJ during the Los Santos section. Franklin grew up in a time when many people already understood that the gang lifestyle caused more harm than good. They saw that the risk wasn't proportionate to the financial benefits. A character that perfectly symbolizes the culture shift is Tanisha, who spoke very negatively of the gangs after suffering the loss of her brothers. Connecting all the clues from GTA San Andreas, GTA 5, and the real history of Los Angeles, there's one scenario that seems especially plausible. The Grove Street families weren't just wiped out by the Ballas. Sweet represented the old school gang mentality. The gang was about loyalty, protection, and street rep.
You gotta love your hood like you love your homies. It's always been that way, and ain't nothing ever gonna change. I done seen it all.
The problem was that this approach was already outdated in the crack era. The gangs that sold the drug earned massive profits, acquired weapons, and gained influence. The families tried to stay relevant while still running the old model, and reality was quick to punish them. In 1992, CJ managed to rescue the GSF. He killed Big Smoke, took care of Crash, and helped the families regain influence on the streets. The riot destabilized the situation in South Central, and he used it to the gang's advantage. He utilized the contacts he'd made, like Mike Torino. The stars aligned really well at that moment, but CJ was merely a painkiller that temporarily silenced the pain, but didn't cure the illness, which still haunted the gang in later years. Looking at what happened in real Los Angeles, it's easy to spot a pattern. The gang's influence gradually declined. Young people often weren't choosing the path of gangster life and looked for other opportunities.
Gangs is positive. That's all we got, my nigga. That's our heritage.
Ain't nothing positive about your crazy ass.
And that's why I think Grove Street families weren't simply wiped out. They became victims of the culture shift. Regardless of whether the Ballas took over Grove Street or not, the gang would have collapsed either way. The world that gave birth to the gang had long ceased to exist. CJ, Kendall, and even Sweet eventually had to adjust to the new reality. As Franklin said, times changed, and that's probably the most realistic end of the story of the Grove Street families. The old gang model stopped making sense, especially since CJ's businesses realized Sweet's vision far more efficiently. CJ could recruit his friends from the neighborhood and give them jobs in his operations. This was far more attractive than senselessly running up and down the neighborhood, blasting at anyone who wore a different color shirt. Even if Sweet had stubbornly stuck with his outdated vision, he would have probably ended up in jail or in a casket. And who knows, maybe he would have eventually been convinced. That's what the dialogue between Lamar and Franklin suggests after all. They say that the legendary Grove Street gangsters probably became successful CEOs, which is even further reinforced by the billboard in GTA 4. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Big shout out to the supporters, and make sure to check out other videos on the channel. Take care and see you soon.